understanding human behavior may be aided by experimental psychology and psychological research. Important components of psychological experiments include the false consensus effect, classical conditioning, and cognitive dissonance. On the other hand, a few have approached their studies and well-known psychological tests in somewhat peculiar and perhaps unethical ways. The results of these studies may add to our understanding of human behavior, but some psychologists have overreached in their testing of theories by using unethical procedures. Some may even seem a little sadistic. These 5 strange psychology tests have completely gone too far. The Little Albert experiment, conducted in 1920, stands as a notorious example of a psychological study veering into unethical territory. In an era marked by different ethical standards, American social psychologist John B. Watson embarked on a venture at Johns Hopkins University to explore the possibility of conditioning fear in a child. The subject of his experiment was an 8-month-old infant named Albert. Watson's methodology was straightforward, yet ethically dubious. He first introduced Albert to a harmless white rat, noting the absence of fear in the child's reaction. Subsequently, Watson exposed Albert to the rat along with a sudden, jarring noise. Predictably, the loud noise startled Albert, laying the foundation for an association between the rat and fear. Through repeated pairings of the rat and the noise, Watson deliberately instilled a fear response in Albert, to the extent that the mere sight of the rat would provoke tears. Expanding his experiment beyond the rat, Watson induced distress in Albert by associating other stimuli, such as rabbits, dogs, and even Santa Claus's white beard, with fear. The outcome of the experiment was disturbing. Albert, once a healthy infant, emerged from the study potentially traumatized, burdened with phobias induced by Watson's manipulative conditioning. This unethical experiment remains a cautionary tale in the annals of psychology, highlighting the importance of ethical standards and the potential consequences of unchecked scientific inquiry. In August 1971, something eerie unfolded in the basement of Stanford University's psychology building. Professor Philip Zimbardo set out to study the assumption of roles in a contrived situation. He wanted to understand how everyday folks would react when thrust into the roles of prisoner and guard in a simulated prison environment. Imagine this. College students, just like you or me, signed up for what they thought was a harmless experiment. Little did they know, they were about to step into a world of chaos and control. Zimbardo, playing the part of the prison warden, orchestrated every detail to make it feel like the real deal. The stage was set and the game began. Some were designated as guards, others as inmates. But as the days passed, the line between reality and role play blurred. The guards, drunk on power, lashed out verbally at their captives. They stripped the prisoners of their dignity, subjected them to humiliation, and subjected them to deplorable living conditions, including sleeping on cold, hard concrete floors. One unfortunate soul was even confined to a cramped cupboard. And the prisoners? Well, they fell into line, surrendering to the authority that loomed over them. But the experiment took a dark turn. What started as a study in human nature spiraled into a descent into madness. Mental breakdowns, emotional trauma, these weren't just outcomes. They were the harsh realities faced by those caught in Zimbardo's twisted web. After just 6 days, Zimbardo's conscience couldn't bear the weight of what he had unleashed. With his girlfriend's pleas echoing in his mind, he pulled the plug. But it was too late. The damage was done. Scars etched onto the souls of those who had dared to enter his prison. Yet, amidst the controversy and ethical breaches, a chilling truth emerged. The Stanford Prison Experiment showed us something profound about ourselves. It revealed the frightening extent to which we can be molded by our circumstances. When the stage is set just right, ordinary people can transform into agents of oppression or victims of tyranny. In 1961, Yale University unleashed a psychological storm led by Stanley Milgram. His mission? To delve into the depths of human obedience, even when it defies our very moral compass. This study, now infamous, sought to unravel the intricate dance between authority and morality that plays out in our minds. Picture this: participants innocently signing up for a memory study. Little did they know they were stepping into a world where the lines between right and wrong would blur into oblivion. Their task? To watch an actor undergo a memory test, and each time the actor stumbled, to deliver an electric shock. A harmless button press, they were assured. But here's the twist. The shocks were mere theatrics, a cruel illusion. The real test was on the participants themselves, cast into the role of teacher, wielding power over the learner. With each incorrect answer, the pressure mounted, the shocks intensified. The actor's screams pierced the air, a chilling reminder of the pain inflicted. Yet, despite the cries, despite the pleas, the participants pressed on. Why? Because an authority figure commanded them to. With each command, their resolve wavered, their conscience silenced by the weight of obedience. They cranked up the voltage, heedless of the consequences, until the unthinkable loomed on the horizon. Lethal shocks, administered at the behest of authority. Milgram's experiment ripped through the fabric of our understanding, revealing a harrowing truth. Humans, it seems, are wired to obey, even when it defies logic, morality, and the very essence of our being. It's a chilling revelation, a glimpse into the shadowy corners of our psyche, where authority reigns supreme and morality fades into the background. In the early 1960s, a fierce debate ignited about how much our genes, environment, and the things we learn from others shape who we become. This fiery discussion became known as the nature versus nurture debate. Albert Bandura, a psychologist, decided to take a bold step in this debate with his Bobo Doll experiment. His aim? To prove that our behavior is more about copying others than what we're born with. Here's how it went down. Bandura gathered a bunch of kids and split them into 3 groups. One group watched a grown-up being aggressive to a Bobo doll. Another watched a chill adult playing. And the last group just chilled without watching anything. Now picture this. After watching, each kid got their chance to hang out with some cool toys, but then, boom, they were told, "Nope, no more fun for you." This was to crank up their frustration. Then came the big moment. They were led into a room filled with toys. Both aggressive stuff like hammers and dart guns, and fun, harmless things like dolls and crayons. And of course there was the Bobo doll, waiting innocently in the corner. For 20 intense minutes, the researchers watched from behind a sneaky mirror, taking notes on who was playing nice and who was getting a little too aggressive. What they found rocked the boat of psychology. Kids who saw someone being mean to Bobo were more likely to be mean themselves, even when that meanie wasn't around. Kids were more likely to copy someone of the same gender, especially when it came to being rough. Watching a calm adult made kids less likely to act out, but there were some surprises. Boys who saw a chilled-out, opposite-gender adult were actually more violent than those in the control group. But wait, there's more. Boys and girls showed their aggression differently. Boys liked to get physical, while girls went for the verbal jabs. Bandura's experiment wasn't just a test of toys. It was a peek into how we learn to be nice or not so nice from the people around us. It's a reminder that what we see can leave a big mark on how we behave, for better or for worse. Ash Conformity Study was conducted in 1951 at Swarthmore College. In this innovative study, Dr. Solomon Ash assessed people's propensity to comply with social pressure to meet particular standards. After showing them images of lines of different lengths, participants were asked a straightforward question: which line is the longest? The challenging aspect of this study was that there was only one actual volunteer for each group. The others were scripted actors. The majority of the performers were told to respond incorrectly. Remarkably, despite being aware that they were providing the incorrect response, the lone genuine participant nearly always agreed with the majority. The findings of this research are significant for our understanding of how people engage socially in groups. This study demonstrated that people frequently care more about fitting in than they do about being correct. and it is a well-known illustration of the temptation many of us face when trying to adhere to a norm in social settings. It is still regarded as one of the most important psychological studies in the history of behavior analysis.